Okay, cool. All to see you here. Yeah, it's been a dream for Dan, Jonathan, Isaac to give this conference. It's also a dream for me to be here. It's my first talk, so if you got some remarks, Twitter handle, you saw it, and like to hear it. Well, welcome to my talk. Why the heck should I use React? Should I use Appium with ReactNative? Or I should have called my talk I use Appium, but we're gonna look at it later on. First of all, I'm going to talk about something really important about me. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the project I'm currently working on. I'm going to talk something about the tools, the investigation I did for the customer I'm working for. I'm going to show you some setup. And if time lets me, I've got some tips and tricks for you. So hopefully it will go. Well, about me. They call me the blue guy, and sure, I don't know why, but could have been about my picture. I'm using it everywhere. It's even in the book. I use it on my blog, everywhere. And my wife is always complaining, get a new picture, but yeah, it's kind of like a trademark now. Father of 2 kids, happily married for more than 12.5 years, and I needed to say hi to my kids, so hi if they're going to show the movie back. Been in manual testing since 2007. And doing test automation since 2012 with QTP, UFT, worked a lot with Protector, also a contributor to the project. We're working with Appium and also WebDriver IO. Kind of like an automation geek. When there are processes that are too dumb to do it manual, I like to do it in a script. Also ordered Tapster, hopefully get it next week. I'm gonna do some automation at home. I'm also the owner of some widely used NPM modules for testing. Don't know if there are some people using Protector here to automate their tests. I've got an image compare module. It's got about 11,000 downloads a month. So it's quite useful, I think, within the community. And created a module also to do some nice reporting. And it also got around 11,000 downloads, so it's kind of awesome for me, at least, to see that's really taking use into the community. And I'm working for a small company, the Testers company in the Netherlands. I'm being hired by different customers. We're working for banking like ING. I've been working a long time for Rabobank. Also at the Dutch railways, and currently I'm working for Tele2. Got one little slide about Tele2. I don't know if anybody knows Tele2, it's how they call themselves, it's a pan-European telecom provider. And they have the purpose to fearlessly liberate people to a more connected life. That's their strategy. And I think the way they're presenting themselves here, and they use it in all their communication, they're pinpointing more to the people, the younger generation. And what they now want to do is they want to upgrade their digital strategy by creating a complete new app in which the users can get a new subscription, ask questions, and they want to do it in a fun and rebel way. And I think this also connects to that. And in, what was it, I think September, October, they asked me, I was at the Dutch railways, but they asked me if I could help them set up the test automation for their ReactNative app. I don't know if anybody knows ReactNative. It's just using JavaScript to create a fully native app for iOS and for Android. And that's what I'm also going to talk about, and the journey I've had within Tele2 using Appium or picking the right tool. I think that's the best explanation. First of all, the app. I can't tell anything about the app Tele2 is currently creating because it's not open. It's not on the market currently. We still have a few weeks. So what should I then demo? What should I use? So I created a little app myself for Android and for iOS with ReactNative. And I can tell you the journey I've had within Tele2 in selecting the tools by using my own app, because it has almost the same features, only not that smart, only not that awesome, but you will get an idea. And this is used during my tool selection. But we're not here to talk only about my awesome tool and my awesome app. We're here to talk about Appium. First of all, before I started, I thought, well, what do we need? So I put down some requirements, some test automation requirements, and divided them into hard requirements and soft requirements. And hard requirements, those were the requirements for selecting the tool that, well, they should meet, those requirements should be there. The tool should be able to do all those things, and we had some soft requirements, and those, yeah, it would be nice if we could have those requirements, but they were not mandatory. So what we needed to have, first of all, is that our tool itself should be cross-platform. We should be able to use it with iOS and with Android. We also would like, and I said like, we're going to get back to it also in the soft requirements, we want to write our test code also in one language. We don't want to use Java, Ruby, or whatsoever all together. We just want to do it with one language. We also wanted to automate a real end-to-end user flow. With a real end-to-end user flow, we're meaning that, for example, a customer opens the app and he gets a notification, you can get a new subscription. But to do that, he should go to a browser. So that means that the tool itself should be able to switch. The tool should be able to use a web view. The tool should be able to interact with some native parts. If you want to share your invoice and you will pull up the native part of your phone, we should also be able to automate it. Well, testing on emulators, simulators, real devices, and we should have CI support. Last but not least, and I think that's really an underestimated part, it should be able to create screenshots. Because when we have a failure, we're all running our test unattended. We don't know what's happening, especially when we're sleeping. It should run also. And we should have an end state of our app. If something fails, we should be able to see where it failed. Then the soft requirements. It should be a team effort. And that comes also back to writing something in one language. Because when I'm not there, when I'm on vacation or I'm ill, my colleagues should be able to fix bugs whatsoever, but they should also be able to fix tests or add new tests. So what we said, we want one language. We're developing ReactNative, JavaScript, so it would be awesome if we can use also JavaScript to do the automation. And last but not least, test BDD style, the given when then. I'm very fond of it, not because of the Gherkin style, the given when then, but more about code reuse. And our business is also describing your user stories in given when then. So it would be very easy for us to create test cases out of that. All right, the tools. In November, I did the research, but then an old colleague of mine, Quo, mentioned there was a very good webinar of Jonathan. It was called The Shifting Landscape of Mobile Automation. He almost handles the same list here. And it would have been nice that I've seen it before I've created it, but yeah, you had it in, what is it, February or something, this webinar? So it's almost the same list. The tools you're seeing here, and which we could pick, were Earl Grey, XUI Test, Espresso, Detox from Wix. Also a nice tool to investigate KV from Pixie Labs, specifically also with Detox for automating ReactNative apps, Calabash and Appium. That was the status in November. And if you then look at these tools, you can group them. We got Espresso, XUI Test, and Earl Grey. Those more the platform specific, and then you've got the four here. They're cross-platform. And if we then look at our first requirement, we said it needs to be a cross-platform. That means that we're not going to investigate in these tools. And basically, the first investigation we did was only based on documentation, looking at webinars, that kind of stuff. If you then look at this list, you see Calabash. It's end of life. We've got Xamarin UI Test for it. So these were the four tools that I used to do an investigation. And as said, based on the documentation, webinars, links, that kind of stuff, we came with the first outcome. It's this list. And those are the requirements, the first requirements we've set up, the hard requirements. Here we see KV is a nice tool, but yeah, there are a lot of X's, a lot of red, so we're not using it. If you then look at Detox, Detox is currently within the React Native community the tool to look at. All the developers are very fond of it. And yeah, you're seeing here cross-platform-ish. Currently they don't have 100% support for Android. They're almost there, but they don't have it completely. Still working on it. Same for the end-to-end user flow. They support a few items, but it's more like an app tool and not something outside it. You're not able to automate the browser with it. Currently also no real devices support and reporting. Yeah, I did some playing with the tool. I will come back to it later. Now, if you then look at the list, you've got Xamarin, UITest, and Appium. Well, all green. Based on this list, I would say check Xamarin, UITest, Appium, leave out KV, Detox. But yeah, think again. We want to write in JavaScript. And it's not because I think some people who know me that because it's Microsoft, I don't want to investigate into it, but it's more like, yeah, it's C#, and we don't want to implement an extra dependency within our team that's only able to automate in C#. Because then you get we call it a one-trick pony in our team, and no, we don't like it. We want to have a team who can do everything. So these were the two tools I used to do the investigation. To give you also an idea, with the Tele2 app we were creating, I created tests. And I said, I want to be able to do this at least, and based on that, we should pick an automation tool. Well, can't show the app, so what I did the same for my own app. And first of all, I said, well, I need to be able to do a navigation, kind of like tapping on something, swiping on something. Also to be able to use the web view, because in our app, in the Tele2 app, we should be able to go to the web shop of Tele2 within the app. So I should be able to use the web view. I should be able to do native hybrid swipes. Hybrid swipes, just a JavaScript injection and be able to swipe. But I should also be able to act in a web view context. As you know, Appium, you can switch between contexts. Well, that should also be able. So that's also what I've done. Last but not least, as you saw, I already also have a chat option in my app. And there I'm going to test something like the interaction and get a result. I'm doing something, and you should be able to retrieve data from it. So that's what I used to compare the test. So now we're diving more into detail. We're really automating with the two tools. If you look at this, and we first look at Detox, we have some pros. I don't know if you know Detox, but Detox is created by Wix, and what it basically does, they call it a gray box testing tool. It's a tool that wraps itself around the app, making it very fast, and it also interacts with the app. It synchronizes with all the things that are happening. If you're used to, for example, use Protector together with Angular, it also waits for certain actions before elements appear. Well, Detox does the same. The advantage they also have is that they're not closing an app, opening an app, going to a page. That's what I had with Appium. So that also makes them faster, because I want to have a clean state. And if you want to have it with Appium, you need to close your app, you need to start your app again, because you can't rely on your situation before. What I also found very awesome is it was easy to debug. When a failure was happening, you would get a printing console log of the script and the exact line number where the failure was happening. This point, possibility to use the native keyboard, it's more like it gives me a good feeling. It's not very a real fact or something that's really needed, but there was a real interaction on the keyboard, and maybe I'm doing something wrong with Appium, but I couldn't get that working with Appium. I saw it in the past, but it gives me a good feeling. Also, putting up the view, you see your keyboard, you see all the interaction on your keyboard. And what's also awesome about the tool is that you're seeing the real gestures in your app. For example, if you're clicking, you're swiping, or whatsoever, you see something happening in your app. And yeah, they're only working on it for, 1.5 years, 2 years now, and they really got a big community currently behind them. So that's also nice. But yeah, when you have pros, you also have some cons. Currently, they only have native support. So what I said, they're only able to automate the app itself, but nothing outside the context. Also, there's no interaction with the web view. So that was, for me at least, and also for Tele2, something we needed to have. So it was, a con for us. They currently don't have support to automate based on coordinates. If you want to do a swipe, you need to select an element, and you're doing your swipe on the element. What I like is to say, well, I'm on XY, and I want to swipe it to another coordinate, wherever I am. If I want to test if I'm swiping my menu bar, and it should not swipe, then do it like that based on coordinates. They currently also don't support, there is a PR for it, but they don't support screenshots. So for me, it was really like, no screenshots? No, not the way to go, but yeah. They also don't support currently the get text. It's a function I'm using a lot to be able to get text from a screen, because you can have a situation where you're filling a form, you get data back, you want to use that data, or you need to use that data in a second screen. So that was not possible. Maybe they're gonna get that in the future, but yeah, currently it's not supported. What I also found hard with the tool was it was hard to get proper logging, or reporting. Could have been that I've chosen to automate it with Jest instead of Mocha. That's their preferred framework. But yeah, for me, it's always nice to see a nice reporting, and also for the management, it's kind of like their candy store, as I say it. If everything is green there with nice interactions, and they're also glad. So also something to take in your mind. And it was hard to verify certain actions. Sometimes I want to be able to do a swipe, but be certain that the swipe succeeded. Because if you do a swipe, you can get a false positive that the swipe didn't happen, the command was executed, but it's still green. I was not able to say, give me, for example, the location of an element, then do a swipe, and then verify the new location of the element. That was for me harder with Detox. Then, Appium. Well, I should have built in a scroll view here, but I've limited it to these parts. I think also, if you go back to the webinar that Jonathan had in the shifting landscape, he said 5 years ago we were here, and we had these competitors or these tools, and now we're here in 2018, and Appium is still standing there. And the other tools are not, or have been refactored for the 3rd time, got a new name, that kind of stuff. It's kind of like the standard currently. And that's making it very easy, for me at least, to do the automation. It's a stable solution, and it has a large community. If you type in Appium on Google, you get a lot of Stack Overflow questions, answers, that kind of stuff. It supports the native and the hybrid app and the browser very good. It's well supported also if you have a local setup, if you have a grid setup, or you have a device cloud. And it can integrate also with multiple frameworks. So you don't need to use it vanilla Appium, but you can also use it with WebDriver IO. You can use it with Protector. You can use it with whatever tool there is. You can implement it, and that's if you have if you prefer a certain framework, it's very easy just to implement it. And in my case, I think maybe 99% is very high, but I think in most cases there is a way to automate what you're doing. And yeah, that's what I couldn't see with other tools. But yeah, there are also some cons. Sorry to say it, but yeah. When I did the investigation and watched a lot of talks, and also for the new tools, the first thing they say, if I compare it to Appium, it's hard to set up. And I was really like, why? Because you need to do almost the same. You need to do your Android setup. You need to do your iOS setup. So what's hard on that? So if you got some remarks about it, Twitter me, and hopefully I get an idea what's really hard for it. Slow, I've made it cursive. I will come back to it. I do agree it is slow, but if you look at, for example, the Detox, and if you compare it to Appium, Appium is a black box. It interacts with the app from the outside, and Detox interacts from the inside. So yeah, there's some speed with Detox. Unstable, inconsistent results. Yes, there are some unstable, inconsistent results, but the last few months when I did the automation with the ReactNative app, I saw that most of the times the problem was sitting between the screen, keyboard, chair, and basically it was me. So before saying and pointing to a tool, watch what you're doing because you're pointing with 3 fingers to yourself, so always check your script. But yeah, sometimes it can be unstable, inconsistent, and hard to debug. And I think Isaac is going to tell something also about using the logs. I do agree. Sometimes it's a pain in the to debug. So yeah. Okay, so which tool did we choose? Okay, Appium. But I think I think if you're done, you should. We asked ourselves the question: is this really the best tool for automating React Native apps? And I think you first need to realize it's not the holy grail. It's not, in spite of the fact that it's the de facto standard, don't directly pick Appium. Maybe it's the tool that you like because you have the experience with it, but do your investigation. Secondly, check what are your requirements. Like what I did in the beginning, we set up our test requirements, hard requirements and soft requirements. Do that because you need to know what you want to automate, and that's also the next point. What should your app do? Not only now, but also in the future. So look at the roadmap. Look what your business wants to do, and if they don't, for example, want to automate a web view, then maybe Appium is not the tool to choose. They can do it, but if it will not be on your roadmap, there are other tools you can use. Then do the investigation for the tools. Just read documentation, look at webinars, look at pull requests because they can also give you some insight about the app, the tool, sorry, and check if they support your expectations. And when you've done this all, do a proof of concept. Before picking the right tool, documentation is nice. Webinars are nice, but what you see with all those documentation, there are only positive stories because no one is going to say, oh, my tool is crap, but just use it. No one is going to say it. So do a proof of concept, and then you will see what if it really supports your needs and your expectations. So these were the points, and depending on the project I will get in the future, I will use Appium, but first I will investigate this. Okay, but how did we set it up at Tele2? Well, what I said, I like to use a framework because I don't like to do all the things myself. So what we've chosen is to use WebDriver.io. WebDriver.io is a cool tool. You can do almost everything with it. And out of the box, you will get your setup. It's easy to configure. You get parallel execution. You can support whatever you want. Local, cloud, grid-based. And it has default reporting, default screenshots. We're using Cucumber. In the link I will share also with you, you can go back to my project and you will also see I use Cucumber, the reason why I've used it, and also some awesome reporting. And last, we are also using Appium Desktop. Appium Desktop, well, I think a lot of people also know it. It can be very easy when you're trying to develop within a team your tests. You can watch the UI tree. You can pinpoint to certain actions or certain attributes. It's very easy. So this is the setup we are using currently. All right. Next slide. And next slide is going to be about speed, because we all want to speed up things. It was something I mentioned before. People tell Appium is slow. And maybe we all want to do this, and it's keeping us back in doing something. So what I did for Tele2, I just watched what can help us when we use Appium to speed up our tests, because I don't want to wait on certain things. And one of the most important things was animations. I hate animations because you can't automate the animations. So why should we keep animations within our app? I'm lucky that I'm in a team that I'm able to adjust some stuff to the app, so this is maybe a unique situation for some people. I'm also able to create a specific build for our app, but I was able, with only a few lines of code, to remove the animations. And you can see it here. If you do a click, you need to wait for the dialogue. And when you remove the animations, just to stop watching your animated module within ReactNative, it's very fast. And we are using a lot of animations. We're using a conversational UI in which we talk to the customer, and all the questions and answers will come in a bubble. And each bubble will take 800 milliseconds. So if I have 10 bubbles, that means that I have at least 8 seconds when I'm doing testing. And I'm not doing one scenario, I'm doing multiple scenarios. So you can calculate your profit you get here. What I also did to speed it up, and again, Jonathan was ahead of me, is use deep linking. When you're using deep linking within your app, and especially when you want to automate it, you want to go to a certain page real fast. So you need to mock that you're gonna mock your user. Normally, you first need to do kind of an onboarding flow, say what your credentials are, that kind of stuff. It saved me, for Tele2, between 20 and 40 seconds per test case to get to the right screen. And what you see here is just saying, I want to go to the chat screen from a certain person, and that's here. But if you want to do it normally and you don't have deep linking, you will also see what happens. You open the app, you go to chats, you select a person. This will cost you a few seconds. So those are some tips and tricks you can use to remove some time, to gain at least some time. And those are some stuff you can use also to speed up your tests. All right, but how did I do it? Was I able to present this and also do the same for Tele2? First of all, you can see some useful links, which I used for my presentation. First of all, a nice Google minified link, but it's going to my project. You can check out all the code, see also how the Detox tests are set up, what they can do and what they can't do. Appium Pro, it's really useful, but they're always sharing information I wanted to show here, but yeah. And also, I would really advise you to look at this webinar, because it will give you an insight also of the tools that were there and are now here. Really nice to look. KV, just check it out. It's a really easy project, and the reason why I've picked out KV, it's a purely JavaScript framework. There are no dependencies. It's really only JavaScript. If you watch the webinar or if you watch the talk they're giving, you will also see the cons of using KV, but the idea behind it is very nice. And some links to Detox give you also some information. That was it. Thank you all. You can find me on my Twitter handle, my site, and also on GitHub. And I don't know if there's some time for questions currently, or...
I think we got to keep rolling. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All.
Yeah.